In our previous chapter, we spoke of the importance of energetic protection and energetic hygiene in a world that's so chaotic and so full of physical, emotional, mental, psychological, and spiritual stuff. The only way that we can truly know where we begin and where we end, so what is actually ours and what is not ours, is if we have our energetic protection in place and we have a clear and strong sense of ourselves, who we are, if we've got a lock on ourselves in time and space. Otherwise, our energy can just be spilling out all over the place. We can feel discombobulated, disconnected, knocked from our center, and unsure of who and what we are in time and space. And we can also be like a magnet, attracting and drawing to ourselves, or just taking on the energy of others that's seeking some kind of relief or some kind of harmony. So we spoke of the importance of energetic protection and energetic clearing, and ran through a bit of a process on how we can locate ourselves and how we can kind of set our energetic parameters. And then in today's chapter, we're going to talk about how we maintain those energetic parameters, because it's one thing to set your energetic parameters or your boundaries in place, your energetic boundaries in place, but it's a whole other thing knowing how to maintain them without conscious and deliberate focus and presence and wielding of our energy in every moment. It can be very easily to violate the boundaries that we ourselves have set in place. So we're going to talk about how to maintain our boundaries, and we're also going to talk about, as a very important part of that, sympathy versus empathy. So this is how to properly relate with other humans in a compassionate and loving way, because we shouldn't have to completely block and cut ourselves off from humanity in order for us to feel okay. That's not spirituality. That's being a victim to other people and a victim to circumstances. True spirituality, or true spiritual or self-mastery, is being able to be in the world but not of it. And that means consciously and deliberately choosing what you partake of, what you engage with, how you respond, what you allow in, and what you're putting out, what you're kind of contributing to the world and to other people. So it's not about bricking ourselves in and refusing to communicate and to interact with the world and with other people, but there is a healthy and respectful, self-respecting and other-respecting way that we can relate, that is about love and compassion, but isn't about dropping or lowering our vibrations so that we infiltrate or we bypass our own boundaries by putting out or taking on energy that just doesn't serve anyone, because it just doesn't serve anyone. This isn't just about you, this is about other people as well. It doesn't serve other people if you're just taking on all of their stuff as though it's theirs. You're relieving them of all of their burdens and their chosen learning, and it doesn't serve you either. So how do we do it? Relationships are a bit of a minefield on this planet. So let's explore and unpack a little bit more by reading chapter 13, Negating Your Own Boundaries and Sympathy versus Empathy. Once your boundaries are in place, if you are present and non-reactive, receiving the reflections offered to you by the conditions you have placed on yourself, then you can trust your boundaries. Check in with them and reinforce them, but know that they will work for you, just as you know that your skin works for you and won't suddenly break open of its own accord. Be aware, however, that just like your skin, your energetic boundaries can be torn. There are a great many things which can tear your boundaries, but ultimately, it is fear which tears your boundaries, and it is only you who can tear or negate your own boundaries. You are responsible for what comes in and for what goes out. No one else can violate your free will and force energy in or out of you. Basically, your boundaries are negated by your own less than unconditional love choices, by your fear-based patterning and programming. If you are in a state of fear, you negate your own boundaries. If you are in judgment of an individual or of an environment, then you negate your own boundaries with your fear and open yourself up to the subject of your judgment. If you are being hypocritical, you automatically negate your own boundaries. You are in violation of your own boundaries when you don't embody the demands that your boundaries place on others. How can you demand a thing of someone if you yourself do not hold and maintain the frequency of that thing? You cannot demand of your external environment that which does not exist in your internal environment. Your boundaries are boundaries built out of love, not boundaries built out of narcissism and self-importance. How can you expect your boundaries to keep out fear when you are inside your boundaries in a state of fear? How can your boundaries protect against judgment when you are filling your bodies with judgment? How can your boundaries hold paranoia, anxiety, superiority, unclarity, negative thoughts, selfishness, greed, heavy emotion, low vibration energy, lust, materialism, awkwardness, discomfort, disease, etc. at bay when you demonstrate through your actions, thoughts, and emotions that you entertain and welcome such frequencies? Your boundaries are only as capable as you are clear. You must maintain the standards you expect of others. You must embody and be a living example of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. You must embody the ideal. If you embody less than the ideal, then you proclaim that this kind of behavior, this kind of energy, is welcome in your immediate environmental body. Boundaries cannot be built and maintained on hypocrisy. Become aware also of your tendencies to poke holes in your own boundaries through sympathy. If you enter into sympathy with someone, you are willingly choosing to frequency match with them, and you are violating your own boundaries through this misguided use of your own free will. You must hold yourself in a state of love, clarity, and compassion, conscious and aware of your internal responses and reactions, being deliberate in how you conduct and use your energy. I will point out here that sympathy is indeed an act of frequency matching. It is feeling sorry for someone and extending yourself to them in an unhealthy way where you meld with and take on the frequency of their suffering. This will inevitably cause you to feed them your energy, and this will leave you feeling deflated as you unburden them and choose to take personal responsibility for their experience. This is very common practice, as people believe that sympathy equates love. People believe that to be loved by someone is to be unburdened and lifted up by them in this way. People of an agreeable nature, pleasers or carers or peacekeepers or people who are deeply sensitive, have a tendency to take on the suffering of others in this way. It is common practice in religious individuals, as it is taught that the way to serve your fellow sinners is to give freely of yourself and to relieve the burden of their suffering. This was, after all, the ultimate gift that Jesus gave humanity. If you have something which could raise another up, then give selflessly and unconditionally of that thing. This kind of teaching is beneficial to a naturally self-centered type of individual, but can be deeply harmful to a natural empath who knows naught of boundaries and energetic hygiene. Despite the intention, sympathy of this kind is selfish and destructive. To take on the burdens of others and to relieve them of their suffering is to do yourself harm, but even more than that, it is to do harm to others. A person's pain and suffering are a sign that they are on the cusp of realization and transformation. The soul will use these feelings to communicate new truths and perspectives to the individual. There is something there for them to face and to grow through. to swoop in and to relieve them of their suffering, to feed them energy which makes them forget their troubles and raises them out of their feelings, is to deprive them of their chosen learning. It is to work against their evolution, to become an active hindrance upon their path of growth. And this, we know, is essentially evil, rather than selfless in nature, despite the intention. In order to truly support someone in a time of turmoil and suffering, bring them empathy instead of sympathy. Sympathy is the act of sympathetically frequency matching, deflating the balloon to fill another, where empathy is the productive activity of compassion. It is right that your heart extends towards others, that you feel their pain as though it is your own. This is a sign of a compassionate nature, a working understanding of oneness, and a functioning conscience. These qualities are part of the nature of God. But rather than sympathy, empathy is considerate of the soul's intention. Empathy allows for transformation because rather than robbing the individual of their experience, empathy can understand why things are happening as they are. Empathy considers cause and effect and can recognize opportunities to heal and to evolve. Empathy, because it is not lowering itself in vibration to become emotionally entangled, is productive. It sees a way forward, and through deep love and respect, it offers the kind of love and support which is necessary for ideal growth and evolution rather than temporary relief. Sympathy is the filled balloon opening itself up to a deflated balloon, allowing its air to be transferred in order to provide temporary relief, becoming personally deflated and burdened in the process. Empathy, on the other hand, is the filled balloon having so much love and respect for itself and its fellow balloons that it listens with a kind ear and knows that the best way it can serve its fellow balloons is by remaining filled, strong, steady, consistent, and reliable, and from that filled space teaching the other balloons how they too can become filled and hold their own air. Other people cannot be transformed through your martyrdom. In fact, your martyrdom is actively disrupting and getting in the way of their intended evolution. Other people will benefit most from your love, from your consistency, from your unwavering boundaries, and from your compassionate example. As a previous sympathizer, I can understand that this can be a confronting and challenging cycle to break. I too wanted to believe that I was best expressing that enormous love that I felt for my fellow humans by taking their suffering away from them and giving them free access to my abundant, highly vibrating energy. I wanted them to know what I knew, to feel as I felt, and to suffer no more. But when I had the heartbreaking realization that rather than serving them, I was actually interfering in their growth and evolution, I couldn't, in good conscience, sympathetically engage anymore. I was raised to believe that if you have something that someone else needs, you give it to them. But how can you give from an empty bucket? How can a now deflated balloon give any quality air to the other balloons? If you are not filled, you do not have anything of substance or quality to give. You are a deflated balloon desperately attaching yourself to other deflated balloons, giving away any little puff of air that comes your way. This creates codependent and dysfunctional relationships. This is not love. This is the continued disempowerment of those who you claim to love and serve. This fulfills a need in you, to be special, to be needed, to be wanted, to be the strong one, and what you thought was the ultimate act of selflessness is, at its core, deeply selfish. This kind of self-reflection and introspection is essential so that you can free yourself of the needs that you have, as well as the patterns and the programs that you run which keep you from being able to practice true altruism. You serve others best by having your boundaries in place. You can bring the most upliftment to others when you are robust, steadfast, and filled. When your bucket is filled, it will naturally overflow into the environment surrounding you, able to be altruistically shared with those who are ready to receive, with no agenda and with no conditions from you. This is true selflessness. You can be a living example for others when you practice your energetic hygiene, freely giving and receiving of unconditional love and above, and refusing to negate your own boundaries through your own fear-based choices. If something is getting in which is not of love, return to the basics. Reset and reaffirm your boundaries. Release all energy which is not of you back to its original source. Call all of your own energy home. Disconnect any cords or connections with a blade of pure light and breathe. Come back to your grounding cords and your center and feel yourself present in your body. From this space, investigate the phenomena. How is this energy getting in? Are you in fear? Are you in judgment? Are you being a hypocrite? Is this energy getting in because you yourself are harboring this particular frequency in your environmental body? Is this energy reflective of a quality in you which needs to be acknowledged, felt, and released with a new love-based frequency being chosen? Are you being a martyr? Are you being sympathetic rather than empathic? Is there something you are getting from violating your own boundaries in this way? Does it make you feel safe or special or needed? Is your internal compass off? Are you not heeding the warnings of your heebie-jeebie radar, which is the knowing of your heart? And are you making exceptions for inappropriate behavior? Say no to the unwanted energy, but be productive and introspective, not beating yourself up or bringing judgment to the experience. Replacing your own fear with a love which is so strong and clear that fear simply rebounds off the surface of it. Be whole, be complete. Be loving and flexible. Be grounded and present and discerning. Hold an unwavering commitment to truth. Receive the reflections and serve your fellow humans by being a humble, living example of love in action. And then our next chapter, which we will read in our following video, will be about healthy relationships. And this just very naturally flows on from the discussion that we've just had about how you relate with other people. And we're going to look at what people believe to be a healthy relationship versus what is actually a healthy relationship. And again, relationships are a minefield on this planet. So any clarity that we can get on the topic is worthwhile and productive. But for now, that's all.